Alrighty, everyone, welcome to Bible study. We are continuing on in the story of the kings. So here's the plan for how I thought we would move forward. We are now at the spot where I don't think it's necessary to read every single chapter because it is going to get very repetitive very quickly. Um, but for the first third of Bible study, I was actually going to do a quick flyby on the chapters that I didn't have you read today. So we ended last week on chapter 14. 15 and 16 establish a pattern. These stories are interesting, but they're not substantive in the way that if we are going to make it to the end of the story, that we're going to hit the substance-filled stories and kind of zoom by some of the bad behaving kings. But I want us to understand kind of the format and the formula of how it goes. So we're going to talk a little bit about the kings, about the Judah kings and the kings of Israel. But then I want to spend most of the time talking about Elijah because we get introduced today to one of our heroes of the Bible, a very important man, and we kind of get his first episode. And we are going to be hanging out with Elijah for a long time. So I do want to spend enough time getting an introduction, kind of thinking about his motivations, where he's from, what he's doing, and what his perspective is. So does that sound like a good plan?
Yep. It does
All
to me.
right. So I know you didn't read it, but if you would join me at the beginning of chapter 15, I'm just going to point out two kings. These are both kings of Israel. I'm going to read two sections for you, and I want you to hear the similarities and the differences because there's a formula that they are using. So here's the beginning of 15. Now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, son of Nebat, Abijam began to rule over Judah. He reigned for 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maachan, daughter of Abishalom. He committed all the sins that his father did before him. His heart was not true to the Lord his God, like his father David. So keep that in your head. We're going to skip a little bit forward to his son, because he only reigned for about 3 years, we are told. And then his son takes over. So in the 20th year of King Jeroboam of Israel, Asa began to reign over Judah. He reigned for 41 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, daughter of Abishalom. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, as his father David had done. He put away the male temple prostitutes out of the land, removed all the idols that his ancestors had made. He had also removed his mother Maacah from being queen mother because she had made an abominable image of Asherah. So this is how most of the kings will be introduced. So let's talk about the formula. What are the things that they always point out at the beginning of someone's reign?
They were worse than all the ones before them.
So they were worse, or what's the other option?
Very good. They were good as David.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
So one of the things we get a yay or a nay. Spoiler alert, only the kings of Judah ever get a yay. Israel are always they were bad. They were bad. They were just as bad as the ones before them. They were bad. And so we kind of get a general godly approval rating for each of these kings. What else do we get in the formula?
It seems that most of the sins have to do with worshiping other gods, not moral issues,
Right.
not like with Bathsheba.
So actually that one it comes up in the beginning of 15. Uh there's actually it's not a comment about Bathsheba, but there is a slight dig at David in it that I found hilarious.
Okay.
Because it says, because David did what was right in the sight of the Lord and did not turn from anything that he commanded until the end of the days of his life, except in matters of Uriah the Hittite.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
So
yes.
there's just one dig that like David did everything right except this one thing.
Mhm.
But at least we get the
Kinda
admission
funny.
that David wasn't perfect. You don't see much of that.
One of the things you get is the relationship of the two kings, the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. And I suppose if somebody were interested, somebody has done this, they've mapped out this reign and that reign and put them
Mhm.
together and made a timeline.
Oh, you are good. I have a timeline that I will bring up in a little bit. But yes, so one of the things you will always get is if it's a king of Judah, you will get the king of Israel. And if it's a king of Israel, you'll find out who the king of Judah is. And so it ping pongs back and forth. So there's a very clear timeline of who is reigning during whose reign. And it's often not identically like the kings don't move through at the same pace. So you get like you get who the king was when they started the reign. But I want to circle back. So far we have the godly approval rating. If they are bad, we get to know what sins they committed. And most of them are the worship of other gods. That's the one that God's really concerned with. And then we get kind of like a timeline of like what else is going on specifically with their rivals. Other things that appear in the formula.
I don't know, how often does it have the mother's name?
Yes.
Is that just some of them or is that all
When
of
the
them?
queen or the queen mother is bad, you will get the mother's name, but no, it's not often.
Aha.
If the
Mhm.
woman is mentioned, it's normally because she is doing bad things.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, oh, see, these people were bad. They were listening to a woman.
They also are clear to credit the mother for the bad king.
Yes, they are.
Uh,
Yeah. So
well,
in a
did we say length of reign?
nope,
Okay.
that's another important one. Because that also establishes the timeline. So we get when one or the other starts, and we get how long they were in power. Which, if as we're gonna take a flyby, we're gonna see some hilariously short reigns.
Yes.
So those are two kings of Judah. The thing is, Asa is in power for a long time. He reigned for 41 years, which is significant amount of time. That is in the realm of like, I think Saul, David, and Solomon were all said to have reigned for 40 years. So that's a significant amount of time.
Does the amount of time relate to their godliness?
Yes and no. It does seem like the holier Judah kings do tend to live longer. I don't. This is one where, how do I say this? When sometimes there, as we have talked, there is often a interesting relationship between what we would consider modern standards of history and biblical standards of history. And often in the previous chunk of the Bible we've already covered, that relationship can be tenuous. This is a spot in the Bible where it does seem to be a little bit closer, that the ties to history seem to be closer, partly because there is actual records that they constantly reference. One of the other things, I don't know if you I did not read it as a part of the formula, but often after you get the end of a king's reign, you will say, hasn't he done more? Can't you read it in the annals of the kings?
So,
So
Oh,
there is an
yes.
actual history record that they can't deviate as much from. I'm not saying they're not taking editorial license, but there is another set of books that people can cross-reference. So the length of the reign, who they did, what they did, that's not detailed here. This is very clearly not supposed to be a history book, but it makes references to the history books.
Mm.
So they're basically like, check my references, here's my source information. So just because a king is good doesn't mean they can artificially extend how long the king reigned because there are actual records. So that's why this one's this section is a little bit more trustworthy than other places. For like for historicity reasons. Like how close is this to history? A lot closer than we're used to seeing. So with that in mind, instead of going beat by beat, you can read each of them. Sometimes I find it confusing. I have to highlight who the king is, which like country is he ruling over, how long is the reign, and like I have to like specifically highlight the details to keep it straight. People are far smarter or far more interested in making diagrams than I am, have gone ahead and put together the timeline that Gretchen was mentioning. So this one is the favorite one that I found. So we have King Saul, King David, King Solomon. These are the kings of the United Kingdom. And like I said, they're roughly all reigning for 40 years. The kingdom splits. And so on the one side, we get the different dynasties. And over here, all of these are David's dynasty. Until they are hauled off to Babylon. The one credit is David's family continues to rule. There is one queen that jumps in. She gets a bad approval rating because she's a queen and you're not supposed to do that. But you get also a general godly approval rating over here for the kings of Judah. You don't get it over here for the kings of Israel because they're all bad kings. They're wayward kings. So we ended last time with Rehoboam. Then we get Abijah, who is the king who reigns for 3 years and did naughty things. We get Asa, who reigns for 40 years, Jehoshaphat. So these two are considered two good kings. They did what was right in the sight of the Lord. They followed after David, except not in the matters of Uriah the Hittite, his one sin. And then we will get a few bad kings that have much shorter reigns. And so we do see that it looks like just generally speaking, the good kings are reigning for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The thing that we're going to start jumping into is the kings of Israel. So Jeroboam reigns for 22 years. We have Nadab, who reigns for 2 years, but Nadab did bad things like his father did, and so a prophet was sent, and Baasha was sent specifically to kill Nadab and eliminate the entire family of Jeroboam. So this is the second dynasty. Baasha literally annihilates an entire royal family. But then he also does what's bad in the sight of the Lord. And so his son reigns for 2 years before Zamir does the exact same thing. I believe he is a military general who then is sent to kill the Baasha family and wipe them off the face of the planet. And so Zamir kills that whole dynasty. He reigns for 7 days, though, before the next guy takes over. So 7 days, that I think is one of the records for the shortest time on the throne. He was a general, but he wasn't very good. And so then Omri takes over. Omri is sent also to punish. That is another thing that we will see a lot in the kings of Judah is often one is sent to punish the other because all of them are bad. So Omri, the reign of Omri is where we pick up today. And the first little section of chapter 16 is just to get our sense of place. So initially, when Zamir is deposed, there's two people who half the kingdom wants to put on the throne, but in the end, Omri wins out, reigns for 12 years, and then, or one of the important things he does is he brings the capital of Israel to Samaria. That is a big, important move for the rest of the story. So Samaria is now the capital. When he passes away, he puts his son Ahab on the throne. Omri is said to be worse than any other king until Ahab comes on the scene, and Ahab is worse than his father is. So, before we continue on with Ahab, any questions about the timeline and kind of how we get from one to the other, the formula that we're seeing? Yeah, Larry?
Where is Samaria?
Yeah.
All
Good
right.
question.
So, time to look at a map. I also have this one preloaded. So we'll look at this again when we start talking about Elijah. So we see Judah, who is in the purple down here. So this is the good kingdom. This is the two tribes. This is the kingdom of, or the Davidic line. Up here we have the much bigger kingdom of Israel. We see it stretches very far north. This line here is very close to where Jerusalem is, and Samaria is right here. So kind of central south, a little south of center.
Okay, and is it an area rather than a city, or is it both?
We see that the region around this area is called Samaria, but there's also a city called Samaria. So it's a region and location. It does seem to have, for a very long time, a distinct culture. There is researchers today that say the Samaritans always had a distinct culture. Samaritans still exist today. That is one thing that people don't always realize. There is a distinct people group with a distinct religion that are the Samaritans. These people still exist. And they have a version of what we would call the Hebrew scriptures. They have a similar one, but it's not the same. They have the northern version. And so this people group has likely always been distinct. This region's fairly old is the other thing. And so moving it is kind of like moving your capital to an already powerful city, most likely.
Where do Samaritans live now?
In the same region.
In the same region. And
yeah, so it would be south of Galilee.
Do they have any political differences with the rest of Israelis, or are they part of this similar, or is it, is it like they're the right wing, or there's something like that that says, oh, Samaritans are this way? And
so that is a very complex question that I cannot give you a 2-second answer to. What I will do is there's a video of a researcher that I think does really good research. And I can send you all a video that explains the Samaritans, that explains their point of view. I found it more recently, and it's really cool because someone's actually gone there, done interviews, taken pictures, so you can kind of see it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the state of Israel, there's a contentious relationship because they still consider themselves Samaritan Jews. They say we worship the same God. We just have a different version of the story. We are still related. And the Israeli government's like, yeah, but you're not Jewish. So there is some tension of whether or not they're in the family or not, because they have a different version of the story. It is interesting that this people group has survived multiple attacks from multiple empires and diasporas. The fact that they're still around is actually quite incredible.
So, it is.
Wow.
And have been there for a long time.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's not, they didn't come in 1948.
No, no, these are considered the Samaritans so we've talked a little bit about like the people that came out of Egypt, out of the
Mm,
wilderness and
right.
into the land of Canaan, which
Hmm.
means they are indigenous Canaanites, and the Hebrew people group are not necessarily indigenous to the area. The
Right.
Samaritan people group is likely indigenous, and we see here that the people group seems to already exist.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
this is
Wow.
why there's a lot of tension in the religion of the northern kingdom of Israel, because they do tend to adopt older practices that are pre-monotheistic, which means it would make sense that you would adopt the older Canaanite religion if you think it is more authentic because it is older. So
Hmm.
that's the constant tension that the Northern Kingdom's gonna have. They like to revert back to polytheism like the region originally was. So, um, I was very much zoomed in on this. When I send the link to the Samaritans video, I will also send this image along if you want to keep track of it yourself. You will see that the Israel line of kings stops much shorter. And that's because, as we will get to in the story, uh, the Assyrian Empire attacks, they will take Israel into captivity. They will not take Judah into captivity. And then at this point, this line ends because Babylon comes, conquers Assyria, and then does the same thing. So this is where we're going. This is where we have to make it all the way down here.
Chris, is this partly geographic that the Northern Kingdom was taken first?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have a map loaded to explain why, but if you think about if you've ever seen a map of the Fertile Crescent,
Mm-hmm.
the crescent that goes over the Middle East from basically modern day Iraq, modern day Iran, there's a green belt and it arches around the Arabian Peninsula because that's been desert for a long time. And so if you want to travel from one place to another, you have to stay where there's water. And so you would go up, around, and then down. And so the Northern Kingdom is the first one you hit on the downward travel to Egypt. So you hit Israel before you'll hit Judah.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, we will get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to come back to that map in just a moment. But let's first talk about Ahab and Jezebel, because these are two very big characters. Before we look at scripture, what are your just cultural associations with Ahab and Jezebel? Because I know in particular Jezebel has a lot of associations. So
Mhm.
when you hear these names, what comes to mind?
Well, there's a movie with Betty Davis, a really old movie called Jezebel.
Yeah?
She's really bad.
Paint,
Is it
paint,
about Queen Jezebel?
I think mostly her sin is I'm not absolutely sure, but she's a bad person. She's interferes with people's lives. I think she might be it might be sexual. I don't know for sure. I can't remember the details. And I think she was greedy, but she's
Okay.
definitely a bad person.
I
So
think Painted Lady.
Painted lady.
painted. Oh, I know where that association comes from, but that's funny. I've always heard it like an insult to be a red-haired Jezebel.
Oh yeah,
Which I don't know where the red hair comes in. She did not have red hair, I almost guarantee you.
Didn't come from Ireland, huh? Or Norway or
Any other so are most of our associations with the Queen Jezebel?
Oh, when I
Yes.
hear Ahab, I think of the white whale,
Mhm.
Moby Dick.
Oh.
So
Mhm.
we don't have an association necessarily with King Ahab that's biblical. We have Moby Dick, but
Yeah.
Queen Jezebel is known.
Uh,
If you are called a Jezebel out in the world, I don't think this is a term that's used as it's like it's an older insult. But what
yeah.
are they implying if they're calling someone a Jezebel?
Well, a conniving woman.
Conniving?
Good.
Mhm. Other associations?
Well,
An evil woman.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and sort of a sexual woman,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a prostitute or something.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point.
So I bring this up because there often is this like hypersexualized idea around Queen Jezebel.
Mhm.
Keep in mind that and see if it is this true. And Jezebel is actually one of the characters I find her fascinating. I will never call her a good person. She is not a good person, but she is an interesting person.
Okay.
And I think there's a reason why she is remembered and her husband isn't. So keep in mind the gender dynamics between these two. We have a queen and a king. The king is king over the northern kingdom of Israel. She is the daughter of King Ethabal of the Sidonites.
Oh,
Sidonites.
Sidonite, so the Philistine area or that.
She's a Philistine princess.
Yeah.
And if you remember when we talked about the Philistines, these are these Hellenistic sea raiders that are from a technologically advanced country.
Mhm.
So what assumptions are we going to make about this Philistine princess?
But well, it's kind of low grade for her to be coming here. I mean, it's not. It wasn't a joy for her to leave the fine lights and all the good things that she had inside and.
Mm-hmm. So if you feel like you've gotten downgraded in life, how are you gonna act?
Well, you might rebel.
Mm-hmm.
or be looking for power in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna pull up the map briefly again just so we have a sense of place. Um, so she didn't have to go too far because the Philistines, they never really go to, I mean, they fight constantly, but they never go too far inland. So she is from this region along the upper coast, which would probably today be like modern day Jordan, I think my
Oh,
geography is right. The coastal area does tend to be one of the more habitable places. And so Ahab has brokered a deal for this Phoenician princess to come from the coast down into mainland Israel.
That would be a much wealthier area with
Yes.
all of the trade. Uh,
Mm-hmm. So there's a few things that makes Phoenicia always a little bit more wealthy. So one, like Israel and Judah are restricted to trade that is on foot, that people are willing to do, like make the caravans and travel from one place to another, which is not insignificant. But Phoenicia is a port, which means you can
mhm,
get ships from around the Mediterranean. So they have much more business from and like much more metropolitan
mhm.
because they have just people from everywhere that are able to dock. The other thing about them being next to the sea, do you know what else Phoenicia is famous for?
Dye,
Yes,
purple dye of the New Testament.
Phoenician purple is, or
Mm,
there's, I looked this up because Larry, I remember you saying that there's a place in Africa that also has it.
Right.
It evidently, there's a different shade that you can tell the
Mm.
location. One is more like a deep indigo purple, one is more like a maroony red purple.
Ah. Huh.
The shells that make this purple are found in very limited locations. There's a little bit on the African coastline where you get these shells, and then Phoenicia is the other place where you get these shells that you grind up to make the purple dye. So
Mm.
that's why people come to Phoenicia in this port city, is to buy this expensive purple dye or fabric,
Mhm.
which also shows she's a little rich girl in a powerful city that has purple dye.
Okay.
Mhm.
So any
So
other
but it sounds like when the kings of Israel and Judah decide to take a wife from another background, they don't expect anything like conversion or behaving themselves in any particular way. They don't have any expectations.
So why would Ahab, one of the things he does immediately is he builds her a temple to
Yeah.
Baal.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Why would he build her a temple instead of asking her to convert?
Yeah.
He wants business from, it's been a business arrangement for him to marry her, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
wants business people to be comfortable in his. Chris, I'm just quoting you. You said this earlier.
Well, and so access to the port.
Mhm, right. So there you go.
Yeah, so we want good relations with the in-laws. We want the business, and marriage at this point 100% is a business deal.
Mhm.
There's another aspect of it. Who married up and who married down?
They
Another
Oh,
have
way to ask
married
this
up,
is,
but I think
say that again, Larry?
I think Ahab married up.
Yes. Which means who holds the power in this relationship?
okay.
Huh.
He may be queen, or he may be king, but his wife is more powerful than he is.
Huh.
Okay, so why would Jezebel want to marry down? Why would her family want her to? Yeah, okay, we
She's a
don't know.
woman. She doesn't have a choice. She is
Oh, sure,
born
right.
and bred to make trade relations.
Okay.
Yeah. Her father told her to.
So, why is it advantageous then for the Phoenician royal family to have a marriage relationship with Israel? Why does that help people?
Well, Israel is a place where they can grow grains, and not necessarily along the coast there. There's not a lot of grain growing, but Israel, so there's a lot of foodstuffs that you can import from through Israel.
Well, Phoenicia has the advantage of the coast, but Israel's got the advantage of a lot of property.
So,
Yeah.
specifically, Israel, not the area of Judah. Judah is a different climate than
Yeah.
Israel. Israel at this point is the climate of Northern California.
Ooh.
And
Uh-huh.
and we grow a lot of food currently in Northern California.
Mhm.
Galilee in particular is actually very green. As long as you can have a consistent water source, which the Sea of Galilee helps with and the Jordan River helps with, this is a breadbasket of this micro region. So 100%, they want to trade fish and grain. What does having trade relations prevent?
War.
Yes, it is far easier to make friends than to wage war. They remember David constantly fighting people.
Mm.
They found out that the like the Philistines and the Phoenicians, they're knocking heads, but no one's gaining ground. They can go to war again and again, but it turns out they figure out it makes so much more sense to just be friends and work out trade deals than try to kill each other. So, why does this marriage actually make sense in a geopolitical economic mindset?
Peace and prosperity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in a way, the King Ahab is prioritizing peace and prosperity over religious affiliation.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which shows what does Ahab trust? Where is his faith? What is he relying on?
Yeah. Well, he may believe in God, but it's also nice to have Baal on your side.
Yeah. As we've seen before, you can have beliefs, but beliefs don't always pay the bills.
He's
And
a pragmatist.
so, any final thoughts about Ahab and Jezebel kind of figuring out this geopolitical situation? Because the geopolitics of it will come back into play. I want us to make sure we understand what's going on, especially with these two, especially with Jezebel, because at the end of the like Ahab Jezebel saga, a lot of this is going to come into play. And I want you to understand this now because it comes to be very important when she dies to kind of understand why she does what she does.
Oh,
Okay.
So, heads up, she dies
Oh.
brutally, but we have a long time before we get there. So, do we feel like we have a grasp on the geopolitics?
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
Cool.
you.
All right. Keep this in mind. This will be important. Like I said, it will come back around. So, our next character on the scene is now Elijah.
Mhm.
With the scripture that we have in front of us, before he goes and meets the widow, just like our brief introduction, what do we learn about Elijah? Who is Elijah?
He's a Tishbite.
Yeah. Does that mean anything to anyone? What a Tishbite is?
Oh,
But he lives in Gilead, evidently.
Do you all remember where Gilead is?
there's a balm there.
There is a balm in Gilead. Anyways, I had to double check this because I just wanted to make sure. So
Oh,
this has all the different high points from Elijah and Elisha. I know these names are similar. They're going to get the better of all of us. So Tishbe, which is the
Hell yeah.
region, is in Israel. It's kind of across the Jordan Valley from Samaria.
Uh-huh.
So
Mhm.
knowing that Elijah the Tishbite is from Tishbe, which is in Israel, what do we learn about Elisha?
he's within the system in some ways, in that he is a prophet
Yeah.
of the north to the north.
Right, he's a local. He's not this is actually important with Elijah because there's going to be many prophets that come from Judah to Israel. This is not Elijah. Elijah is a local. So what does that mean with Elijah's point of view? What is he witnessing? What is he seeing? What does he like? What does he not like? What has he been witness to in his lifetime?
Yeah. Here he is, a local, and he's talking to the king.
Yes.
I mean, how did he get that sort of status? You know,
We don't get any information how he pulls that one off.
no.
So what's important and also not said is like we get actually very little background besides where he's from.
Yeah. And he talks to God.
Yeah.
Talks to God, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know if he's from a powerful family. We don't know what his background is. He just kind of appears on scene and we know
Yeah.
he's from Tishbe.
Yeah.
what do we assume about his religious inclinations?
Well, if he talks to God, he's obviously a God worshiper.
Yeah.
Or
So, a specifically which God worshiper?
Well, Yahweh, I guess.
The Hebrew God, yes.
Yeah.
What does he think about all these Asherah poles and Baal statues?
not good,
Yeah.
bad.
And what is an astropole? Is that,
Asherah pole?
yeah.
Let me see if I can get a picture real quick. All right.
Baal was a calf, wasn't it? A golden calf or
Yes.
cow?
So, Baal is the Canaanite storm god.
Okay.
He's there we go. Uh, Baal is so this is a whole rabbit hole that I don't want to go down, but just mentioning there is research in the idea of the monomyth, which says that the entire linguistic family that stretches from Norway to India. It's the Indo-European language subclass. It is the biggest language subclass. Also has religious similarities throughout the entire region that has the Indo-European language subclass.
Huh.
This includes some parts of the Norse language. It includes English, Germanic, Arabic, Hebrew, parts of Hindi. Like, it is a humongous, it is fascinating. They think it all stemmed from one people group that just migrated all over the place. One of the religious things they find is that this language group also had a religious inclination that had a storm god that was father in the sky. Think Zeus, think Thor, think Indra. They all have, for lack of a better term, storm daddies in the sky.
Wow.
And so there's actually a thought that Baal, being a Canaanite storm god, and Yahweh in the Bible actually have the same root and just diverged at a certain point. Which is why their worship can be similar, is because they're both Canaanite storm gods, just with different names.
Wow.
So,
Fascinating.
that, like I said, that's a whole tangent. There is some other that research is really, really cool because there is language similarities that you can get from Norse to Hindi, which is just absolutely wild. But it's why our alphabets also look very similar. It's anyways, that's aside. So the Canaanite storm god is either Baal or Yahweh, and they fight over which one's the true sky daddy.
Okay.
Asherah is the consort to Baal, or in a very old version of the Hebrew religion, was the consort to Yahweh. There's been sites where she has been the consort to both,
Ken, you go to the bedroom.
which is why they think these two gods may have originally been the same at some point in time.
Go in the bedroom or outside.
So Asherah, the symbol for her worship is literally a big old pole. And they would do different things to worship on this pole, sometimes pouring out libations, other things. This I don't know this for a fact. I'm just, from what I know of religious studies, when poles are invoked, they're often representations of other things.
Yes.
Wondered about that.
Nicely put.
Yes. So Asherah is specifically worshipped for ideas of fertility. So you can use your imagination why you would use a pole in a fertility rite. So Asherah is probably one of the most common gods that the Hebrew people will default to. And it is partially because Yahweh, the Hebrew God, is male. In scripture, the God is always male. It is masculine. And there is no counterpart. Scripture doesn't really give a counterpart to a goddess, but most people at this time assume that if there is a god, there is a consort. They haven't yet thought of a genderless god that could be conceivably both male and female or anything in between. And so when women are going through childbirth, they want something. They want something for protection. They often want things to help them with fertility, which is why Asherah comes up constantly. And it's like, do the Judah kings, do the Israel kings, do they tolerate female devotional practices to goddesses? Because there's not really any devotional practices for fertility, for the protection of mothers, for this male storm god. So you can see some of the religious tension coming out of the lived experience of women. And how do you gain a semblance of control in a chaotic world where bad things happen? So as I will always say, ancient people, they're not dumb. There is reasons why they do what they do. And I think in this situation, you can understand why women want something. And the Hebrew religion, as they are given, doesn't give them all the options that they see other women having. And birth is very dangerous and very scary at this point in time. So of course you would want something. So notably though, Jezebel actually doesn't set up Asherah poles. She sets up the temple for Baal. I have no explanation for that one other than that was her god. Anyways, back to Elijah. That was a tangent, but I think good to still understand the worldview at the time and what the people are thinking about. So Elijah, this unknown guy from this unknown family, evidently, just a dude from Tishbe, walks up to the king, and what does he say to him?
Well, it's not going to rain.
Yeah. How long is it not going to rain for?
Long time. Let's see here.
Doesn't give me a number.
3 years.
Oh, really?
3 years.
Is it 3? For these years? Let me, hold on.
Mine didn't say 3.
Mine said 3.
Huh.
These years.
I got these years too. But you got the advanced copy.
I'm checking to see if there's a translation issue here, because I wouldn't be surprised if there was some people's.
Head back.
Well, he doesn't say it's not going to rain. He's going to say it's not going to rain unless I say so.
Yeah.
So there must have been some rain, but it was only when Elijah decided that it should.
Right. So the gauntlet is thrown down that it's not going to rain unless I personally say so.
Yeah.
Thinking about the geopolitics we just discussed, why is that scary if you're the king of Israel?
Not going to go well. Well, that grain is not going to grow so well. Your special trade item is going to be in short supply.
Yep.
And apparently, the king is, accepting what Elijah is telling him. This is what's going to happen, and he buys it.
Yeah. So the king evidently accepts what he says, and no rain until this random guy says so is a bad thing, because yeah, there goes your crops. Also, there goes your people. There goes your workforce. And so Elijah himself has to survive this what he has just set into motion. What is interesting about how Elijah is introduced, I don't want us to miss this. Elijah says, as the Lord lives, it's not going to rain, which is different than, thus says the Lord, it's not going to rain.
Huh.
Did you all notice that this is just Elijah claiming to have powers? We're not told that the Lord sent him. We're not told that God gave him this power. We have Elijah asserting that he can. But once again, this is where we see that when the God of Israel is invoked, we have remnants of a storm god, because the God in the sky would control the weather. It would make sense for the storm god to control the weather.
So most of what Yahweh is interested in now is weather, or he uses weather as a way of getting people's attention.
The weather is being used in this situation. I'm saying the proto version of Yahweh is a storm god. The ideas of the storm god have kind of gone away a little bit. You can just see like an older version of this god peek through sometimes.
Okay.
Even the idea that like God is in the heavens above is kind of evokes that, like, if God's in the sky, then God controls the sky kind of thing. Where other gods are not up there. They're around us. It seems very instinctual for us today to think of God being up, but that is actually like a very specific belief about God, is that God is up, and typically relates to gods that control the weather at some point in their history.
Well, and you never make it. The Baal has, they have statues of all of the Baal people, and Yahweh has no statues.
Right. So that was one of the innovations in this
not
religion.
Make an image. Yeah.
Yeah, don't make an image. So evidently the Hebrew God is supportive of Elijah's assertion, because Elijah then gets instructions of what to do from here. So he's told where to go to get some water. And so he is fed. Ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and the meat in the evening, and he drank from the wadi, which is like a little stream. So this should tickle your brain of like, this sounds familiar. What does it remind you all of?
Manna in the wilderness.
Manna from heaven.
Right. This is a callback to when the people left Egypt. Which means that it's a symbol that it's kind of like, this is the same God working again. But at the point where there's been no rain for a long time, even that little stream of water dries up. And so where does he go from there?
Oh, I didn't even notice this. He goes to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon. Wow. And live there.
So we're going back to the map. We're going to track a little bit of where he's going. So he is from Tishbe. He went to Samaria. Do we have...
Sidon
I don't think we don't have a location of where the stream was, but Elijah stays with the widow, is right here really close to Sidon, where the queen is from. So he's actually in Phoenicia.
And I think it's interesting that Gilead is really kind of on the edge of the desert, or a different Elijah's used to things where it's not real rainy. I mean,
Yes. Hmm. Yeah, the green fertile part is like like it's right here.
Mhm.
Some of the water they get comes from the mountains and snow melt. And so if there's no precipitation, there's also no spring water or water in spring from the melt. And so he goes
hmm,
to the neighboring kingdom.
hmm,
And so in the neighboring kingdom, he finds this is evidently affecting more than just his people. And he finds a woman who is gathering up sticks. And so, what do you think of this interaction where he's asking this random woman for a bunch of things and she's feeling really down on her luck at the point where he asks for something to eat? This line is just devastating to me.
yeah, the thing where she says she's gonna fix the last meal for
Mhm.
her and her child so that they can die.
And then they're gonna lay down and die.
Yeah. Which, well, we won't talk about current affairs, but
Mhm.
she's she's generous to a fault, we might say. I mean, evidently, he really has some power in him to convince her, go with me and I'll take care of you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I need
Yeah, it's sort of
the
it's building Elijah's image as important and what he can do.
Mhm.
Because, first God looks after him by telling him to go to this wadi, then the stream dries up, so he moves over there, and now Elijah is telling this woman what to do, that
Mhm.
bring me this, and you won't run out of oil, you won't run out of flour, you can.
It's interesting though, it's not that like she will have flour in abundance and her oil will overflow. No, they are going to be on the edge of starvation the
Right,
entire time.
right, but they aren't going to die.
And sure enough, there's a little bit of oil, there's always a little bit of meal, there's always just enough. It never fully runs out.
Mm.
But then tragedy actually does strike, and the son gets sick and he dies.
Well, yeah.
that malnutrition has long-term consequences.
Yes, it does.
I didn't get that.
And so, even while she has been hospitable to a point, she then breaks down that it's like, you man of God, like, why have you come? She sees him as like a curse. And this, like, once again, you can feel her anguish through the story. We don't often get emotion, but we get emotion here. Um, and Elijah assumes responsibility. He said, like, can I take your son? Can I pray over him? And his prayer, O Lord my God, have you brought calamity even upon this widow with whom I'm saving by killing her son? Why? So to me, this is a very important moment in Elijah's story. Why is this an emotional breaking point, an emotional high point? What is Elijah learning? What is he seeing?
I looked at it as just God demonstrating his power through Elijah. I mean, this is to let everybody know, look at Elijah, look what he can do. Not
Yeah.
only is he saving people from starvation, now he's raising the dead.
Yes, that is a very important motif because who else raises widows' sons?
Yes, Jesus.
Jesus, yes. There is much, a lot of ink that has been spilled on the similarities of Jesus and Elijah, and one of the things is Jesus raises dead children. He's doing the same things as Elijah does. There's another person who raises dead
Is it
children.
Paul? Is it Paul?
There is one instance where a dude falls out a window and Paul resurrects him. It's not quite the same situation though.
Is it Peter? Paul?
Peter will,
Okay. Mhm.
and Elisha, his predecessor, will.
Oh, Elisha. Yes,
Elisha
okay.
will raise a widow's son because he's doing the same things that Elijah is doing. So there's a pattern that sets up that, like, Elijah raises dead children, Elisha raises dead children, Jesus raises dead children, Peter raises dead children. And it's almost this symbol of, like, this is the same God at work. See, here's the proof. The holy man can raise dead children. I think there's something else going on here, though. Like that's a very important motif that is very present in all of these stories. When I read this morning, at least, I heard Elijah being full of emotion himself. Why does it matter that he's living with a widow and he is seeing what's happening? Why is that important?
It seems like I could call, I mean, he is a man of God. I mean, God speaks to him. Wow, God kind of tricked him or cheated him and why do these bad things happen when everybody's been doing such good things for you?
Yeah.
It must be a existential loss of faith in the God who's good.
Yeah, Clay?
You need something like this to happen in each case to show that these prophets are worthy.
Worthy of what?
Worthy of what those around them will see and believe, and that God is all powerful.
So there's an aspect of that we've talked about before where it's like, how do you know a prophet's words are true? Because what they say comes true. And so we have proof. So we have proof in the pudding here. I also, Gretchen, I don't want to skip what you were saying of seeing what's happening. I think it's important that Elijah sees the consequences of his words. Where we will get, Elijah will have a mental breakdown. We have talked about, we often love that story where he's off in the wilderness having an existential crisis. I think this is the beginning of some of that movement in the existential crisis realm, that he is challenging a bad king, an unfaithful king. He has been faithful to God. God has provided for him. This widow has been faithful and has provided for him. Why did something bad happen? Why did this go wrong? God, I've been doing everything you've told me. Why did this happen? But also, see, like, I predicted drought over the entire region. He may have not realized the body count. It's like, oh, holy smokes. This son died because of what I did. This son died because I predicted a drought. Oh, this is the consequences. And he may think he is righteous, but he is seeing the consequences of his own hubris. And this will be an issue that Elijah wrestles with for a long time is, wait, I didn't expect this action to have this consequence. So at least for me, when I was reading this in a way humanized Elijah.
Mhm.
But the son actually dies, and then he raises the son from the dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the question is, why did the son die to begin with? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Drop dust at.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a personal tie here between Uzziah and the widow, because her son died. He's not concerned about the thousands of others that died, but this woman that helped him,
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
he was punished.
Mm-hmm.
And while I sort of think about this is, it's kind of easy just to say, oh, the son died. But if you actually think about the three of them actually existing together, kind of sort of hand to mouth, you could develop some attachment to this little
Sure.
boy.
Mhm.
Wow, you
Mhm.
to see the little bird out there, but the kind of connections that people
Yeah.
make.
Mhm.
You could
Yeah.
humanize it almost as.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that happened is that in order to raise the child, I think it says Elijah laid down beside him 3 times. Now,
Ah,
it doesn't say the Lord told Elijah to do that. Elijah, just did that as if he knew that was what he should do.
hmm, hmm,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of forms his own little ritual, but it works. God does listen.
Yeah.
hmm,
So,
hmm.
So what
And
was
God
he?
listened.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
well,
indeed. I am looking at the time. We are way over already. Thank you all for
Oh.
staying with me. We had a lot of ground to cover today.
It's
Any
great.
final thoughts about Elijah? A kind of character introduction to this guy. Any final thoughts?
Was there an answer to your question of why the child died?
Yeah.
I I mean, the child likely died because of Elijah's drought.
Was living with his mother?
No, so it's the child would have died much sooner without Elijah, but
Oh, I
because
see.
food is scarce, because malnutrition often causes people
Oh,
to
so
be
the child died so he
immunocompromised.
could be raised by Elijah?
I mean, so on a practical sense, the child probably died because of the drought.
Yeah, it's a
But
drought. Okay.
um, in a way, yes, the child dies to kind of prove how powerful Elijah is. That's like the narrative reason.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
anyways. So we're gonna get the continuation of Elijah's story next week. It's gonna continue on from here. But with that, can I pray us out for today?
Yep.
All right. Gracious and loving God, it can be easy to want simple solutions. And yet, even in this seemingly simple story, when we pull back the layers, we see all these dynamics of power, of influence, of trade relations, of peace, of war, of faithfulness, of belief. And even simple stories feel so complex. Sometimes we feel righteous in what we say and we proclaim it, and we don't always see the consequences and the fallout. Sometimes we are compassionate and we don't see the harm that comes with that as well. But God, help us to be observant. Help us to see those that are in this world that are like the widow that helped Elijah, women who are just trying to keep their children fed, families that are scraping by and trying to find just a little bit more oil and a little bit more meal. Help us to care for them so they don't face the same end be with us now and continue to guide us and guide our wisdom and guide our thoughts. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right. See you all next week.
Okay.
Great discussion. Thank you.